Good evening, everyone. As introduced, I'm Naveen. I'm a landscape architect from Hyderabad. We are doing projects pan-India and even in Dubai since 2004. So today, quickly, my topic of presentation is Green Living, a Sustainable Approach Through Landscape. So this is basically like the image what you see is animals always tend to gravitate towards nature. So if you see this in a harsh desert climate, one single tree is a green living for the people, the nomads who stay there. So if you see this, every day you see in the newspapers and in the news that these things make a huge headlines. But is anybody really caring about them? Just imagine while you're going to your home or to your workplace, this is the kind of environment you basically see. Why I'm saying is, I basically come from a semi-arid climate in Hyderabad where the temperatures cross 47, 48 degrees Celsius in summer. The relative humidity is less than 40%. So we know what heat is when compared to the other places. So we're basically from the Deccan Plateau. So the definition of green varies from place to place, from person to person. So how much of green is actually green? If you see this, just a minute. iDAC people, I think this is not the PPT file. Can you put on the PPT file, please? If you see this, one example is from a desert kind of climate, one is from a tropical climate. But both are really boardwalks, both are really mangroves. If you actually see in this, on the left-hand side, this is one of the projects we are associated with in Abu Dhabi. So it was like restoration of a mangrove with the natural habitat, natural plants. The basic intervention was we created a boardwalk. If you actually see this is all a kind of a special product which was developed specifically for this project. Now, when it comes to the whole decision making, as you know, it's basically green living is a lifestyle. It's basically making choices that conserve and preserve the nature's resources and the habitats. Other one is where we don't really care about nature. But in today's present scenario, when everyone's talking about global warming and climate change, I think the green living is becoming a very big trend. So as you know, in the basic cycle in nature, a seed becomes a young plant, the young plant becomes mature, it basically gives a flower, the flower becomes a fruit, again the seed falls down into the earth, again you get a plant. So this is a cyclic action. Similarly, even in kind of a sustainable development or a green living environment, normally once you have basically a natural environment which is viable, that basically generates a kind of an economy. If you take, for examples, the traditional craftsmen, even from India or even from Bali, any other place, what happens is when they have a kind of a sustainable environment, they make products out of that, they sell that, that basically becomes a kind of an economic development for them. And what happens to that? Either you totally enjoy that or you give it back to the community in portion, like you see in Oroville. So once you give it back to the community where you're nurtured, all these three combined make a sustainable development. So I'll just quickly run through these things. These are the basic 5 key elements of a sustainable development. And all these 3 things put together, basically, they'll give you these, what you call as sustainable natural environment. So in landscape, what are the sustainable approaches what we naturally adopt? Is we normally do a lot of bioretention ponds. We have these wetlands. We have these rain gardens. Then we also have these permeable pavers, the soil bioremediation and biocomposting. So these are some of the basic principles we normally adapt in our development. So if you see this human intervention over nature, what happens is when you do things like mining and all, Then you again, after the mining, you restored back the nature. So that becomes a sustainable development. This is one good example done by my fellow landscape architect Mohan Rao from Inde, from Bangalore. So this is called as Hathigaon. He has done it along with architect Rahul Mehrotra in Rajasthan. So this is a very, very good example of creating a kind of a sustainable habitat by incorporating all the principles of integrating soil, water, biodiversity with the nature. So if you see this, that was a basic, very arid land what they had. Slowly they started digging up these kind of large ponds all over the place. And slowly the elephants, it became a bathing ground for them and also became a kind of a collecting place for the rainwater. Then I'll also show you quickly some examples of the kind of our approach towards sustainability. So if you see in a place like Hyderabad, Hyderabad is full of rocks. Everybody knows that. So people are familiar with Hyderabad. This is a common situation for us. So neem trees are the common staple trees for us. So everywhere you have neem trees and rock boulders. So if you see this, there's one more invisible player called Vastu. So Vastu, basically, you should know how to use it to your advantage. So if you see this here, I think the pointer is not working. It's okay. Next to this grass bed, you see this gravel bed. So whatever the runoff water, which basically comes from the rock boulders, we had to take it to the northeast for the rainwater harvesting. That's where it's supposed to be as per Vastu. So we conveniently used it. Also, you don't trample on the lawn while sitting in the garden. This is the view from the house. You step onto the rock and feed the fishes. Then this is one more interesting project what we did on a lake bed in Hyderabad. This is called the Sagar Lake. So this is one farm project what we did almost like 15 years back. So today it's become self-sufficient and self-sustainable. How come? I'll show you. The runoff from the site, we basically took it into an eco pond. From the eco pond, we took that water which is rich in organic content to actually grow the paddy and the vegetables and the orchards. From there, the treated water, once it's basically cured of all this, it basically goes into the lake. So if you see this, even the driveways what we use, they're basically like rammed earth. In Hyderabad, we get a layer called white murram. So white murram is a one layer before it forms into a rock. So the sheet rock. So that layer, we basically use it. Yeah. And this is the eco pond. The water from this basically is gone to the eco pond. From there, we basically diverted it. And this is another place what we created in the heart of Hyderabad, in the city, wherein the client wanted a kind of a rainforest environment. It's basically a home come office for him. It's a private office. So when you see this, we transplanted all these trees from the nearby road widening exercise which is happening just 100 meters away from the site. Transplanted that, then we created this kind of a tropical rainforest effect by having misters. So the misters basically modify the microclimate. They had the comfort factor which is lacking in the peak summer. And in other large scale projects what we do, this is a 100-acre housing project what we did. We, in the 100 acres housing project, as you know, 30% goes into your circulation, that's the roads and other things. So that is almost 30 acres. Then 10% goes into parks. So about 10 acres of park we got. So what we did was in that we created a 3 acres lake. All the surface runoff from all the roads we collected into this pond. And if you see this transformation, basically the pond was done and slowly it became a kind of a holding ground and the same water is used for irrigation. Yeah, I'm done. And this is the last project I'll try to show. This we did the development facility for Amazon India in Hyderabad in the financial district. So this was all done on a concrete slab, on a podium slab. So the clients wanted, true to their name, they wanted a rainforest, Amazonian rainforest. So using the local species and the other things, the whole area was transformed like this. And last but not the least, I'll just try to show you one small example and end my speech. Recently, I'd been to Dubai for the Dubai Expo, the World Expo. And in the Sustainability Pavilion, this is one funny thing what I saw. how naturally people tend to gravitate towards shade. The place was actually a cafeteria. People were supposed to sit on the benches and on the table and eat. But because of the shade, the table became the shelter, and they're sitting on the green and eating below. So think before you act, from gray to green. Thank you.